Brink was released back in 2011 and was marketed as a first-person shooter that incorporates parkouring elements. The game is set in the near future, revolving around the Ark, which is an artificial floating island. Decades after it has been built, the Ark has become overcrowded, resulting in a shortage of resources. This has resulted in a civil war between the Resistance and the Ark Security. The Resistance wants to protect refugees from security forces, share resources and make contact with the outside world, while the Ark Security faction wants to stop the terrorists and protect the remaining resources. This is the premise, and to be honest, throughout the entire game I couldn't care less about the so-called story, as the very few cutscenes that appear are really boring to sit through and have nothing going for them. The story feels more like an excuse to have two factions rather than being a fleshed out story.
Chen's resistance is victorious, and Nechayev will soon bring help from the outside world. Probably. But with all the violence, Chen's popularity is not what it was, even among the guests. Still, the Ark survives, as does the fight for a better tomorrow.
As the player, you can play as the Resistance or the Ark Security and see the story's events unfold from both factions' sides. The campaign is made up of 6 missions per faction, as well as an additional 2 what-if missions per faction. To successfully complete a mission, you need to complete the primary objectives, which can be as simple as defending a certain point, planting a charge, escorting a character, repairing an object and hacking a device. Most objectives are fairly easy to complete, but there is one objective in the security campaign that is extremely frustrating and nearly impossible to complete. If you have played the game, you probably know which one I'm talking about. I'm referring to the objective of needing to hack the missile controls on day 6. I had to try this mission numerous times, even on the easiest difficulty setting, because hacking the device leaves you vulnerable to enemy attacks who constantly respawn to ruin your chance of completing the objective. Not to mention that your AI teammates are idiots, so you can't rely on them to protect you. Even if you succeed in planting a device, when you get killed the enemy team can simply remove it, ruining your progress, meaning you have to try it all over again. After failing countless times, I looked up online for an appropriate tactic that would help me to complete this challenge. This meant that I ended up using a very specific tactic of placing turrets in a supportive role and letting an AI teammate hack the missile controls. Even when I applied this tactic, I was able to just barely win, and once I did, I was relieved that I would never have to play this mission again. Even missions that aren't that frustrating can still be really boring, as some take forever to beat, mostly because some require you to defend the spot for 10 minutes, which is way too long. And since the AI teammates can be really stupid, it feels like you have to carry your entire team to victory. You can also tell when the enemy bots change their behavior and gang up on you, which usually means you will lose the objective if they manage to kill you, since at that point taking the objective back is nearly impossible. I do have to admit that I like the level layout, as there are often multiple pathways that allow you to flank enemies. If you don't know what to do, you can use your objective wheel, which shows the objective and what class can complete this objective, which brings us to the 4 character classes, which consist of soldier, medic, engineer and operative. With the soldier class you can plant charges and give yourself and your teammates ammunition. As a medic you can revive teammates and buff their and your own health. Engineers can repair objects, disarm charges and can deploy turrets. And as an engineer you can also buff your and your teammates' weapons. And finally, with the operative class you can hack devices and disguise yourself as someone of the enemy team. My favorite class was definitely the medic class, as this means you can always heal your wounds, which is necessary as you can die really quickly, and relying on your bot teammates to revive you often results in failure, as they stupidly run towards you, not realizing that an enemy is shooting at them. When you need to do the shooting, I would recommend using submachine guns, because single shot weapons feel extremely weak, as you still need to hit your enemies multiple times, which makes submachine guns more appealing and effective, meaning the weapons in Brink are totally unbalanced with only a handful being useful. If you want to unlock new weapons and weapon attachments you can check out challenge mode, but since this mode is really boring to play through and because I had no desire to sink lots of hours into Brink, I didn't bother to get all of these unlockables.
Congratulations, you have successfully defended the command post and completed this challenge.
In terms of graphics, the environments look decent, but what I really don't like are the character designs, which made me less motivated to personalize my character, and this also makes leveling up less exciting as your reward is often some cosmetics.
Are you ready to use these, brothers?
I am ready.
Then let's do this.
After having played Brink, I can say that it was fun for about an hour. After that, the repetitive gameplay loop became apparent, and at that point I was more focused on getting it over with as quickly as possible rather than having fun. Luckily, beating the campaign missions for both factions doesn't take too long. Still, there are concepts in Brink that could certainly work in a first-person shooter if they were better implemented, but what we got was a mediocre game at best, that doesn't do anything particularly well, and while playing I hardly used or noticed the parkouring elements, making for a forgettable first-person shooter.
So now you've seen it all. The Resistance triumphant and security victorious. More or less.